Hey everyone, this is Henry with Conoly Coaster Designs, and man, we had a great day at the park today. Wonderful Sunday at Dorney Park. The crowds weren't crazy. It was practically walk on every single coaster. Really fun time. But I am back with a construction update number 2 for Dorney Park's 2024 coaster. And I initially thought this was going to be like a 1.5 update. I didn't think we were going to necessarily have enough content to really make a true second update. But looking at things from both the point of view on Zephyr, walking around, noticing little tiny details here and there, and looking at the site plans, I'm confident enough to say that this is going to be update number 2. And I am confident also in saying that the excavations that I was pointing out last week and that I said were going to be footers, I am 100% saying that they are footers. I know there are a couple enthusiasts out there saying they were, moving drainage or, other various utility style things going on with those excavations. But looking at the site plans and looking at it in person today, I am telling you, they are digging the excavations for footers. We will probably see those footers being poured sometime soon. It's really exciting. This thing is coming together. The first brand new, custom, ground up roller coaster for Dorney Park since 2005. But before we get into this, I want to talk about how different this point of view from the parking lot, looking at Possessed, looking at Steel Force, is going to look next year. We are going to have what most likely will be a B&M Dive Coaster dominating this point of view from the parking lot. It's going to be beautiful. It will be such a great ride, a great addition to Dorney Park, and it's definitely going to be a coaster that you're going to want to get out here and ride. And lastly, I just want to say there is so much with this project that I am still learning. So if I stumble over anything, if I mess anything up, let me know in the comments. And let's be peaceful about it. Let's be civil about it. We're all enthusiasts. We all watch this stuff. We go to these parks to look for this type of stuff because we love this. So let's carry that love into the comments when we're talking to each other and going back and forth with each other. So we're going to dive right into the updates here. First off, I noticed next to the one excavation that I was saying was large and was probably going to be one of the footers for this ride, I noticed a stake that said Soft Dig. I was really confused by what that is. Looking it up, I believe that Soft Dig is actually the company Soft Dig. They do utility mapping. So with this type of construction project going on, where it is in the former Stinger plot of land, I wouldn't be surprised if they had a company like SoftDig come out and map every single utility under the ground in this plot of land. I thought it was cool. Nothing really necessarily pointing in any certain direction with this coaster, but it was just a cool little thing I noticed. But we're gonna move forward on this one. So looking from the Zephyr ride on the maintenance road there are tons of utility markings. And looking at it, I figured this had to be for a part of the footer system that's going to be installed on the utility road. Looking at the site plan and then looking at some of the renders that enthusiasts have done of what this coaster could look like, there are going to be a lot of footers that are going to track along the utility road. I don't know if this means that we're going to see the utility road rerouted. Are they going to eliminate it completely? We don't know what they're going to do there just yet, but I got a ton of photos of the utility markings that are out there. They're very easy to see. And as I said in the previous video, all photos that I am showing are taken from publicly accessible parts of the park. I did not break any Dorney Park rules. I did not violate private property. I did not trespass on any spaces that the general public shouldn't be. And just to put it out there, if you are looking at this video and wanting to see this yourself, do not violate the no trespassing signs. Then you might not get the chance to actually see this thing as it continues to be built. and get the chance to ride it. But back in the backstage area, as I'm going to call it, behind the former Stinger plot of land, there are a ton of markings. And as I said last week, those buildings are more than likely going to be demolished just based upon the site plan, because it looks like that's where the queue line is going to be. So it makes sense to see all these different types of markings back there, marking out utilities so they don't strike them while they're constructing. And I'm going to assume that Soft Dig was involved in that in some way, shape, or form. Now, while we're talking about utility markings, and this could be just based upon the fact that I wasn't there last week, I was relying on photos that were graciously given to me by other people that were at the park. It seems like there are a lot more utility markings than I saw last week in those photos, which makes me wonder if SoftDig is doing a multi-step process to marking out these utilities, or if they just weren't noticed last week. But speaking of things that weren't noticed last week, I've been watching the enthusiast community extremely carefully. I've been watching everything from Roller Coaster Reddit, the Coaster Spot, El Toro Ryan. I've been watching them all, and I've been trying to see what they've seen so far on this project. And later in the video, I'm going to show you something that I have not seen a single other enthusiast point out. And I thought it was really cool, because everybody honed in on one of these things last week. They didn't hone in on the second one. And it just really gives us an idea of what goes into building one of these massive attractions, and the behind the scenes that we don't normally get to see. So moving on, we're going to be looking at a photo taken from Zephyr pointing in the direction of the two excavations I was talking about last week. Now, those two excavations I went back and forth with. I talked with my fiance about. We looked at the site plans, and we were definitively saying these were footers. As I said, and I'm not trying to shame any other enthusiast. We're all speculating on this thing. We're all using our best judgment and our best available information to take a guess at what these are. But other enthusiasts were saying these were drainage. They were relocating drainage, this, that, and the other thing. I would suspect that if they were relocating drainage, we would see trenches along with these holes. Those trenches, of course, for the piping or the conduit or anything like that. We're not seeing that. And from this angle, looking at it, I am definitively saying that these are the two circled footers that you are seeing on the screen right now. Two of the larger footers, two of three of the larger footers that are on the Stinger plot of land. These all, in order from left to right, work their way towards Possessed, towards the Rita's stand that is there. Looks like they potentially might extend out the fence line there a little bit. We'll have to see, because that third footer, which is the third rectangular one that's not circled, based upon looking at the drawings and then being at the park, almost feels like it's going to be in the hilly area just to the right of the Ritas. But looking at these photos from last week, looking at this in person today, I don't see how it could be anything else but these two large footers. And honestly, it makes sense based upon following roller coaster construction for as long as I have. Pouring these footers, getting them all poured and ready to set, gives them the ultimate time to harden and to be ready to accept supports and later on track. So it makes sense that they would pour these larger footers ahead of any other major track work, ahead of any other major site prep work, because they are going to be a lot more concrete and take a little more time to harden in order to be ready for support work. Now, we're looking down the service road from Zephyr. This is two of three holes that have been dug in that service road. And like I said last week, I was pretty confident, almost 98% confident that they were footers. I went to the park today fully expecting to make this video saying, guess what, guys? I was wrong, but I'm not saying that. There's no way I am saying that these are not footers. When you look at these footers, as there are these excavations for footers, and then you compare them to the site map, they definitely are 3 of the footers that are going to accept supports that go over top of Zephyr. Now, looking at these footers or these excavations, they are pretty deep. I would say every bit of 3 foot deep in at the deepest. And you can see just how much they have cut out of these things. In some of these photos, you are going to notice the underground utilities. Of course, those coincide with markings that you can still see visible on the pavement that has not been torn up and ripped apart. So it's really exciting to see this initial foundation being formed. These first parts of this coaster coming together. And I mean, I can say coaster because there's no denying that it's a coaster. Look at the site map, look at the site plan, talk to any other enthusiast out there. This thing is a roller coaster. We are seeing the first pieces of it coming together. It is an exciting moment to be an enthusiast and a Dorney Park fan. Here you can see some of the conduit that I was talking about. Of course, again, this coincides with markings that are up on the blacktop. A better view of that conduit, and you can see a second one down towards the lower part of the picture. And here is the site plan. This is the site plan, page 1 of the future construction on the site plan. The 3 circled footer markings there are what I believe we are looking at. There is a 4th one that is a little more up towards where the queue line there is, where it says canopy with the double arrows. I don't see where that one's been dug already. So I'm fairly confident in saying that the 3 excavations that we saw on the service road are these 3 footers. Again, really exciting to see this happening, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see if my predictions are 100% right. Again, I'm going to say I'm 99.9% sure that these are footers. Now, 2 things that I noticed that just kind of piqued my eye. The first is what appears to be a pallet with something on top of it wrapped in cellophane. Now, this pallet is also fairly close to where another footer is supposed to be dug. So I don't know if this is just a random pallet that Dorney Park had laying around. Maybe they already dug underneath of this, and that's just kind of what they have on top of it to kind of keep anything from getting inside of it. Could this be some sort of component to the footer? We won't know. It'll be interesting to see. It just was random to see a pallet just sitting there between 2 cones somewhere in the vicinity of where the site plan says an excavation is. If anybody knows more than me or happen to have a better camera and get a very up close view of this, again, don't violate the private property. Do not trespass and do not break Dorney Park's rules. But if you somehow, from a public area, have a better view of this than what my camera can do, definitely send it along. I'd be interested to see. Now, drum roll, please. This is the thing that I am most excited about. I high-fived my fiance. I was ecstatic to have noticed this. Everybody noticed last week's benchmark nail. It's hard to miss it. It is viewable from the pathway leading back to the bathrooms, but it seems like no one noticed the second one. And yes, there is a second one. It is right up on screen right here. You know it's a second one because the building's completely different. The height marking on it is 100% different, 315.04 feet above sea level. There is a second site marker, and this is going to be significant and important for all the construction that is going to happen when they tear down those backstage areas and start beginning to install the track work, the footers, and everything that needs to go back there, the queue line, all of it. So just really exciting to see that. Again, this isn't a major update. It is an update number 2. I felt there was enough content, enough things that I noticed and I was able to further piece together to warrant calling this update number 2. We don't have any track on site. We don't have supports on site. We don't have any steel workers on site. You can't see any construction equipment. There's not even crates that say B&M on site. What we're seeing is preliminary site work, further indicating that this will be a roller coaster, which is extremely exciting. As all of us who are Dorney Park fans know, the last ground up custom roller coaster that Dorney Park got was Hydra the Revenge back in 2005. So we are going to be seeing 19 years later a ground up Bollinger and Mabillard, the same one that made the same company that made Talon, the same company that made Hydra the Revenge. We are going to see a ground up B&M hitting Dorney Park yet again. As always, if you like my video, like, comment, subscribe. Definitely share this video around, please. It helps me greatly with getting more viewership and hopefully allowing me to bring more and better content to you in the future as this construction continues. We're looking at drones, of course. Again, in case anybody watches this from Dorney Park, we will not violate your whole restriction on your airspace. We understand that we cannot fly a drone onto your property, above your property, anything like that. But we will do everything we can, being that this coaster is so close to where we could just fly outside of the border and use a zoom to get to. We're hopefully going to be bringing you some aerial content. And before I go, just remember, again, we're all enthusiasts. Treat everybody with love. Treat everybody with compassion. Be happy. We're all unique individuals here, but we all share this common, just really niche interest in not just roller coasters, but how they work, how they're constructed, and how safe and the amazing they are. So keep that love and that compassion going. I'll see you next week. Plus, if you see me at the park, wandering around the construction site, feel free to stop by and say hi.